and one on Thursday, and that's the headliner. And it is where we will start. Stamford Bridge. Chelsea's 4-1 home underdogs against Man City, coming off a hard-fought effort against the mighty Toffees of Everton. City's -150. The draw is 3-1. Chelsea's coming off a draw against Nottingham Forest. Maybe Anthony jumped the gun when he said that Chelsea and the Potter Revolution had started when they pasted Bournemouth. Anthony, we told you to calm down. It didn't start yet. Yeah, you were all about it. You were all about it. Let's start with you though, Anthony. This looks it looks tempting on Chelsea at home against a City team that was good against Everton, but just once they scored, they just seemed to kind of decide that was going to be enough. Like they almost went into arrogance mode against Everton, and they paid for it dearly. It's a must-win game for City now, as they all are pretty much. So how are you playing this one?
Yeah, I'm playing the under 2.5. It's another hold your nose, another under in this damn league where no game ever seems to go under. We did have a good amount in this match week with some unders finally coming back. And I think you're going to see more of those as we get into January here. But from a stylistic point of view, I think the biggest thing in this matchup is that the Chelsea attack continues to be mediocre. And I think BJ made the first point, like we can't overreact to a game against Bournemouth at home. And I thought I agreed. Maybe I didn't. I'll have to go back and think about it. But if you go to the Nottingham Forest match, I tweeted a screenshot about 20 minutes into the second half of today's game against Forest. And they were outshot 8-0 in the first 20 minutes of the half. They finished the game with 7 total shots against Nottingham Forest. The goal they scored came off of a pretty fluky deflection off the crossbar down right to Raheem Sterling, which, was very fortunate. Nothing Chelsea necessarily did, just a good bounce. And they still created less than one expected goal. And Forest is a better team at home, but it's still one of the worst defenses in the Prem. And you expect Chelsea to have some type of response after that disappointing fixture, but this attack just isn't producing. I mean, they're 8th in passes in the penalty area. So it's not even like they're getting into the penalty area necessarily at an elite level. And then attacks are kind of breaking down, because then you could point to this, the lack of a true striker, Sterling being in and out of form, some of the injuries they've dealt with, but they're 12th in XG per 90. I mean, they're just an average attack, and they're still a pretty good defense, contrary to what I am more concerned with Chelsea's attack than I am with their defense when you look at their numbers underlying, because their underlying defensive numbers aren't that great either, but I'm more likely to buy into those because the other numbers like passes into the penalty area allowed and touches in the box allowed are much lower. So I think Chelsea's defense will hold and make it a difficult challenge for City. They match up decently well here to make this a bit of a stalemate, but I really don't see Chelsea penetrating or getting good looks on this City defense, which yes, conceded to Everton, but it was 2 shots, less than 0.15 expected goals when that goal went in. And the difference with and without Reece James, I think, is pretty significant. I mean, we saw Chelsea played great with Reece James getting up and down the right wing as the main ball progression engine, the extra man in the box, his creativity, his ability to even get shots helps this Chelsea attack. I don't love XG on off splits because I think they can be really noisy and it's hard to really measure like one player's impact. But did Chelsea have been 0.2 of a goal, 2.5 of a goal better with Reece James on the pitch this season than they've been without him? I think it's pretty significant. And I think that's definitely a concern for the Blues that, one player is so irreplaceable to their team. So it's a hold your nose under 2.5 at plus money. I like it. I think this is like a 1-0, 2-0 type City win. I do think they'll win, but I'm not laying the juice or the goal because I do think that the City attack is overvalued. I mean, we talked about this last week. Team total over 2.5 against Everton, which I wanted to bet was like -160. So like the market has is clearly in love with Erling Haaland for good reason, but it's a little too much love. So I do think the total's a bit inflated.
It does seem like a weird spot too for Chelsea. They've just had so much turmoil over the past 2 seasons now, or 2+ seasons. You just don't know. Like I have no idea where the levels for this team are. So they're hard to get behind. It is a tempting number. I often say a lot of times when we're dealing with teams like this, that if you're getting a 4 + 400 on team with this kind of talent at home, no matter who they're playing. It's definitely at least worth a look. We'll see. Right now it's a pass for me. BJ, anything to add here? Thursday, 3 p.m. Chelsea and City.
Yeah, it's a pass for me. If I had to play anything, I might go for a City -1.5 and take a good price on it because, again, like I said, it remains true what I've said on the last few podcasts is that Chelsea they just cannot create high quality chances in the final third. Now you saw a little bit against Nottingham Forest. They did take 3 shots from inside the 6-yard box. Before the matches against Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest, they had taken a total of 5 shots inside the 6-yard box. That was the lowest in the Premier League. So I think what you're seeing is what Potter did a lot at Brighton was they wanted to create the biggest chance possible, not just take the first shot available. So I think you're starting to see that a little bit more. But I mean, let's just be honest, Kai Havertz is not an out-and-out striker. So Chelsea doesn't really have that. The midfield of Jorginho and Kovacic just really is probably going to get run over here against City. And if you go back, I mean, they lost to City 2-0 in the EPL Cup. And then even the match before that, they were at home with Arsenal coming to town. And Arsenal just completely pasted them. It was 2.1 to 0.3 unexpected goals. Chelsea took 5 shots. If we have a repeat of that, then City's going to absolutely run them over. So if I had to play anything, I'd play City on an alt line, probably -1.5 at a decent plus number. But yeah, we are getting a little too steep here with City, sitting around -160. So it's a pass for me.
Yeah, it feels like we're kind of the market still has a lot of respect for this Chelsea team. So I don't want to say we're at the bottom of the market on Chelsea because I really don't think that's the case. I mean, they took money against Forest and closed a -1 favorite on the road. And that's a lot of market respect and a sign that they still think they're a top 5-6 team. They haven't done anything to prove that. And does anybody want to guess who the leading shots per 90 player is for Chelsea this season? Small sample, but
is it Ziyech?
Broja?
Pulisic.
Well, Captain
2.3 shots per 90. So Havertz is a little bit below that. But I mean, you just can't be a top 5 team, six team in this league if your main striker is getting less than 2 1/3 shots per 90. It's just not a sustainable way. And you mentioned like the goals, the shots from inside the 6. I mean, you have to again consider the opponent. How many looks are they getting against City from there? Unless there's like a fluke or a deflection.